shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Good morning, everybody. So I was really inspired to start today with Debbie Friedman singing this song, which is based upon the first lines of this week's Torah portion. And it's a song that has a lot of resonance for me. So I hope you enjoyed this little start to today. So this week's Parsha is Lech Lecha. And the very first line reads, "The Eternal One said to Abram, go forth from your land, your birthplace, your father's house, to the land that I will show you." Yesterday, Rabbi Julie Newman gave a really terrific teaching about this at the IJS meditation. And she really inspired me because I was actually planning something entirely different for today, but she so inspired me that I just needed to sit with this. So here we go. This first line is packed, absolutely packed. Go forth, get moving, get off your bottom, physically move. Notice what happens to your body when you move, and spiritually move. Whether you are particularly aware of it or not, you are on a spiritual journey. We all are. It's part of the human condition, I think. So take this journey. Go forth from your land. This society that we live in is our land. And again, whether or not we are fully aware, we are constantly impacted by our society, by the politics, by the culture. It's in the air we breathe, so to speak. So maybe take a look at that. Go forth. Don't be one of the crowd, or be one of the crowd if it's a choice that you're making, not just because you're going along to get along. From your birthplace, from your father's house. We all grew up in families of one sort or another. And family patterns were set in motion when we were young children. So there are family patterns that we very consciously want to emulate. There are family patterns that we very consciously do not want to continue. We don't want to be part of that. But there are also those unconscious ones. And the habits that we developed as young children in order to manage in our families. So how much attention do we pay to that? Go forth, look at it, and maybe make some deliberate changes. To a land that I will show you. This is unknown territory. And this unknown territory can really be as simple, if you'll pardon that expression, as a shift in perspective, or it can be something really dramatic. So in her teaching yesterday, Julie Newman mentioned this book, Be Still and Get Going by Alan Liu. The subtitle is a Jewish meditation practice for real life. So her mentioning the book had me pull my copy off the shelf, and I just started leafing through it. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is page 15. The underlinings, the lining in the margin, the big star. So I read it again, and now I'm going to read much of this to you from page 15 of this wonderful book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Torah is trying to communicate to us that leave-taking itself is extremely significant. It is a prerequisite to any encounter with God. Most such encounters in the Torah and in biblical literature and in all the sacred literatures of the world are preceded by a leave-taking. Very often there is no clear destination mentioned. The very first words God speaks to Abraham, the progenitor of the Jewish people, are Lech Lecha, just leave. Leave your father's house, your birthplace, your culture, everything that has ever made you feel comfortable and secure, and go to a land which I will show you later, to a destination that I will not even trouble myself to identify for you now, because the point is simply to leave without any secure sense of destination. The point is to take a leap of faith. Leave-taking, home leaving, always precedes the divine encounter, because when we leave home, when we leave everything that is familiar to us, we leave convention, and most significantly, we leave habit, for God is never encountered in either convention or habit. So I think the point here is to notice that we need to pay attention to our habits of mind, and ask ourselves if we have the courage to face our fears and take that leap of faith and leave the habits, leave the comfort zone, and discover who we truly are and are meant to be. Leaving the habits of mind and going to a state of not knowing. You might think of beginner's mind, state of not knowing. We can grow in awareness. And knowing that this leaving, this heightened awareness, may make us more loving, more compassionate, more understanding, and a whole lot more vulnerable. It's not just a bed of roses down that path. In the very next line, God tells Abram that his name will become great and that he will be blessed. So I don't like that. That seems to me to smack of egoism and maybe a little arrogance. So my way of thinking about this is that your name will become great because you're going to have such a positive influence on so many people. And you'll be blessed by God and by all these people who you have this positive influence on. And you will be blessing people as you go through your life. So all of that, thinking in that way, brought me back to what I had really wanted to talk about today, which is John Mccransky's approach to opening to love. And I'm going to give a super condensed version right now, but over the course of the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping that we can really get into this more, and that I don't get sidetracked. But John suggests that when we sit in meditation, when we sit quietly, if we can recall just a moment when we felt truly cared for, absolutely loved, and really breathe that in and embody it, that allowing ourselves to be so loved will suffuse us with this caring and compassionate way of being that we will not be able to help but bring that out into the world. So that's the nanosecond version of something that's really very complex that we will spend time with over the course of the next several weeks, as I said. But that's what comes to mind for me. If I can be so loving that I am loving in the world, I am kind, I am compassionate, I am generous, then my behavior is a blessing. And that's how my name becomes great, right? Because at my eulogy, somebody's going to say, she was really nice. So I want us to think in terms of this as an opportunity to really focus on our spiritual journeys and to elevate that aspect of our lives. Because this is a spiritual journey, anyone who would like to is invited to do our meditation this morning as a walking meditation. My suggestion is, if you do that, to do it within the bounds that you can still hear my voice, because I'm going to be doing some guidance. So let's take our seat or stand if you're going to walk. And let's just take one nice deep breath. And now, in your seated or standing position, I invite you to bring your shoulders up and back and down, so that if you're standing in a really good, tall, regal position with your arms hanging out your sides and your shoulder blades sliding down your back, lifting your heart. And if you're sitting, you also have your shoulder blades sliding down your back, lifting your heart space, and your arms may be at your side or in your lap. And feeling your feet flat on the floor. And breathing. And now, bringing your attention to your body. So you still have some attention on your breath and some attention now on your body. And whether you're sitting or standing, you can notice that there's some movement in your body with each inhale and exhale. And now I invite the people who are walking to begin very slowly walking. And as you walk, bringing a little bit more attention to your legs and noticing muscles moving in order to maintain your balance and in order to walk. And if you would like, you might want to bring to mind a moment of pure happiness. It can be a very, very fleeting moment. A moment when you saw somebody you really care about and they greeted you warmly. Maybe even a really broad smile from a stranger. Maybe a moment from your childhood where you were playing with abandon. Just a simple moment where you really felt loved and cared for. So without thinking it, I invite you to re-experience it and to feel it. Having moments like this to call upon, I think, helps us feel a little bit more courageous about looking at old habits and patterns. And deciding which ones we want to keep and which ones we don't want to keep. So I encourage the walkers to continue walking. And we'll have a few minutes of silence. The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save.